The fast-filling Hisense Arena in Melbourne is the venue this afternoon as the Vixens welcome the Adelaide Thunderbirds. Hello and a very happy Easter to all of you as we bring you round 2 of the ANZ Championship live on SBS and streamed online. We had a fantastic opening round of matches to kick off the 2013 season, and after the Easter weekend we may well have a better indication of who the title contenders will be for this year. Today our focus is on 2 teams who recorded wins last week, the Melbourne Vixens and the Adelaide Thunderbirds. Adelaide come into this game without a win in 4 attempts against the Vixens. Joining me to see if that is likely to change this afternoon is our resident expert, former Australian international and New South Wales Swift, Selena Hornibrook. Selena, it's got a great match in store today, but let's quickly recap on round 1. It was a really sensational way to start the season.
Thanks, Tracy. It was a great way to start the season. There were some pretty convincing wins throughout the round 1. However, I must say that Magic was probably the only team that went through 4 consistent quarters and were able to dominate the other team throughout the entire match. Most of the other games were pretty much decided in 1 quarter.
All right, let's have a look at round 2 and, of course, plenty of action to continue today. We saw yesterday the Southern Steel visiting Canterbury Tactics and coming away with a win. Our feature match this afternoon to get underway shortly is the Vixens up against the Thunderbirds. Following on will be the West Coast Fever taking on the Northern Mystics and the Waikato Bay of Plenty Magic taking on the New South Wales Swifts. Monday's game is the Central Pulse up against the Queensland Firebirds. So to today's game, the Vixens and the Thunderbirds. Who is going to get the edge here? Both of them have been title holders in the past. We know the Vixens were the runners-up last year and are probably keen to get back into that championship position.
Absolutely. Both teams are very similar. They play the pretty standard Australian type of style of netball. You've got 2 very strong mid-courts with Brown and McLeod playing for the Vixens. They have been combining really well, with Madison Brown winning most of the accolades last year at the Australian netball presentation. You've also got Nat Bomberto, the Australian captain, and Lee Waddington playing for the Adelaide Thunderbirds in the centre court. So between the 2 of them, they should be a pretty tough match-up.
All right, we'll have a look at the lineups because this is going to be quite interesting. Given what we saw last week, along with the percentage, those in the goal shooting department, who played well, who didn't. As you say, it's really important to get all 4 quarters going well, not just featuring one. Take us through the lineup here.
Okay, so the Vixens here, we've got Karen Howarth and Tegan Cadwell. They've been playing really well together both last year, and they started well in the round 1 last week. Coming into the mid-court, as I said, they've got an extremely tough mid-court here with Madison Brown, McLeod and Curran. Curran is an excellent goalkeeper, goal defence, but comes in really well as a wing defence as well. And coming into the defence end, you've got Jiva Mentor and Bianca Chatfield. Chatfield, as does Jiva Mentor, both of them have quite a history with netball, especially in the international test series. And as I said before, they've been working together and they'll be a really tough team to beat. Well,
Jiva Mentor, it's a big day for her because she becomes the first overseas base player to notch up 75 games in the ANZ Championship.
Yeah, as I said, she is a really tough defender. She's had experience with 2 of the teams now and obviously with the Vixens now. She'll be a really tough competitor in this game today.
All right, let's have a look at the lineup for the Adelaide Thunderbirds. Once again, all important, especially in the goal shooting department.
Yeah, Carla Borrego and Erin Bell both played very well last week. They had excellent percentages with their goals. And even though Erin being a goal attack, she not only assisted Carla Borrego really well, but also shot a good percentage of the goals. In the mid-court, as I said, you've got your Australian captain, Natalie Bomberto. She's been combining really well with Lee Waddington. And you've got Renee Hallinan, who is an experienced and specialist wing defence there in the centre court. Coming down into the defence end, you've got Rebecca Bully and Shani Layton. Rebecca Bully has spent many years playing with the Australian Diamonds, in and out of the squad, but I think she's really cemented herself now with the Diamonds, and Shani Layton is an experienced goal defence. They both combine very well together.
Carla Borrego, as you said, really strong last week, 93%. Could she actually clinch the game this afternoon for the Thunderbirds?
They're coming up against a pretty tough defensive circle with Jiva Mentor and Bianca Chatfield. I think that they will definitely shut the 2 shooters down a lot more than they were last week. But if they perform as well as they did last week, they'll do very well.
All right, let's have a listen to both coaches. First up, it's the Thunderbirds coach who felt Lee Waddington slotted in nicely.
Yeah, she was an absolute asset for us last week, and she offers us enormous speed and poise in that attack line, and now we've got lots of versatility off the bench as well, so yeah.
Now the Thunderbirds haven't won here in Melbourne since 2010. How will you make that change today?
Well, it's all about us putting out what we're putting out on the training court. We're training beautifully, and the girls know they can do it. We've just got to get it together for 60 minutes and take it to the top Aussie teams.
Well, best of luck for the match.
Thanks, Sarah.
Thank you so much for your time today. It's such a huge rivalry between these two sides. Is it a bit of a different feeling in the change rooms coming into a match like this?
Well, I think you always know that it's going to be a really tough match when you come up against the Thunderbirds, and that's been the case for years. So, I mean, the bigger the challenge, the better that you want to rise to it. So the girls are really looking forward to it.
Now, you've urged your defensive end to increase that pressure today. Why is that so important against Adelaide?
Well, I think we need to put the pressure on so that we create our own opportunities, the opportunity to get that turnover ball to score off. I think it's just going to be really critical to have that pressure all over.
Thanks for your time, Simone. All the best.
Thank you.
And it's a huge challenge for Simone McInnes making her debut in the ANZ Championship this year. All right, that match not far away. Let's take a short break. When we return, we'll cross to Melbourne for the first centre pass between the Vixens and the Thunderbirds. Don't go away. Welcome back to the ANZ Championship live on SBS2. The Adelaide Thunderbirds are about to take to the court against the Melbourne Vixens. Let's head to your commentary team, Liz Ellis and Kelly Underwood.
Filing into this stadium in this sports-mad city. The Vixens going to play every home game here this year after attractive, impressive crowds last year, around 5, 6. They even pushed 7,000 in one game last year. OK, Liz, let's have a look at their head-to-head. The Vixens lead that 8-4, but they have won the last 4, so in a sense got the wood over the Adelaide Thunderbirds in recent times.
They do, and crucially for the Thunderbirds, they haven't beaten the Vixens since they won their inaugural title in 2010. So as Jane Woodlands-Thompson, their coach, alluded to in her interview, the Thunderbirds do really well against sides from across the ditch, against sides from New Zealand. And I think that's because they get a little bit more space from the New Zealand defensive line, who play a different style of defence to the Australian teams. When they come up against that real one-on-one tight marking defence, which they're going to get plenty of today, occasionally their structure falls apart, so that's a real challenge for the Thunderbirds, and especially for their mid-court and a not-so-experienced mid-court in Lee Waddington. She's going to require plenty of help from Nat Bomberto.
To you who'll be watching this contest with interest is the Diamonds coach, Lisa Alexander, because there are Aussie v Aussie matchups right across the board. Bomberto v McLeod, Hallinan v Brown, Leighton v Caldwell, Bully and Howarth. I mean, they're all in the Australian squad. Which one stands out?
Well, it's hard to pick up or to pick a key matchup. There are so many matchups that will sway the course of this game, and I'll expect they'll really ebb and flow. There'll be one matchup that'll win 5 minutes and another matchup that will determine the next 5 minutes. For me, though, you've got to have a real good look at that mid-court. Alyssa McLeod, the Vixens centre, new to the Vixens this year, comes from the Firebirds. She led the Australian Fast 5 Diamonds in a competition in New Zealand at the end of last year. So she's starting to look down the barrel of Diamond selections, and she's got to prove herself today against the Diamonds captain, Nat Bomberto. So for me, that's a real key.
And the international matchup under one post is Borrego v Mentor. And I mean, these two have got great history. Mentor does traditionally quite well against Borrego because they're former teammates in Adelaide, and Mentor got the chance, obviously, to go toe-to-toe with her at training every week.
Yeah, and they're brilliantly matched up for each other. I think of the 3 Jamaican goal shooters in this competition, Carla Borrego, Janelle Fowler and Romelda Aiken, Borrego is the most able to create play and to make space, and I think that's a real challenge for Mentor. Mentor's great under the high ball, must move her feet though to keep up with Borrego.
Big moment for the player on screen, Alyssa McLeod, a Victorian playing back home for the very first time after winning the championship with the Queensland Firebirds. That's a moment that she won't forget because she started the Vixens off here in their first home game for 2013. Looking to feed it off to Tegan Caldwell. On the baseline, nice slick little cut. They score within the first 15 seconds. Waddington looping it over the top, just had a little bit too much on it, probably a little nervous.
Yeah, you can put that one down to nerves. It's a big match for Lee Waddington playing against the Vixens. Worthwhile remembering that these two clubs have a long and not very nice history. They really dislike each other, and she would have been worded up on the culture and worded up on what this game means to the Thunderbirds.
Chatfield, the captain for the Vixens. Looking super fit after an impressive pre-season as well. What a revival for her career. Great understanding there, Maddie Brown over the top to Howard. And they got the first two. Joe Curran involved in the action there. She's wearing the wing defence bib today. Had a year off last year, back playing in the ANZ champs. Look away pass, unselfishly. It's the perfect start for the Vixens.
Karen Howard starting this game on a real holding style of game, which is allowing Tegan Caldwell plenty of space to move around the front of her, and it's opening up space. Joe Curran with a steal. She can play wing defence, goal defence. We've saw her play for the Fever at centre. She was the captain of the West Coast Fever for 2009 to 2011.
Thunderbirds on transition. Must score. Had a slow start last week against the Pulse. Erin Bell, the Australian goal attack. Nothing but net.
Oh, what vision, Maddie Brown. She saw Tegan Caldwell out of the corner of her eye, knew she was heading to the post. That is faith, and that is knowing your teammate.
Fumble from Borrego. Moving it around the circle's edge. Could have gone to the post. Instead, Borrego in the hot pink shoes to match the dress. First goal for the afternoon. There'll be a few more to follow.
Maddie Brown just running the show for the Vixens at the moment, finding plenty of space at the top of the circle. Renee Hallinan has a work cut out for her.
Frantic start to this game. And the Thunderbirds now up to 3. Good take under pressure, Chatfield. Back to McLeod. She's a little scrappy player. Love watching her play.
Well, she's a fighter, isn't she? And you can just see she gets in, she does some niggly things, gets the elbows in at time that the umpires don't see. And that's what you want in your centre. You want them to be able to get away with some stuff just to wear the opposition down.
Textbook netball from both sides to start. It's been high quality. Very offensive.
Thunderbirds last week only had 19 turnovers for the game. Super impressive for round 1.
They treasure possession this side. And when you have shooters that can shoot like that, it equals a high-scoring, high-quality game. Brown, the vice-captain, backwards to the captain in Chatfield, and now looping it. High release of the ball into Howard. They've done nothing wrong so far. Vixens are off and away.
Oh, Mentor really had a good aggressive go at it, and her footwork kept her out of trouble. Used the outside hand.
Turnover, can it result in a goal? A lovely take under pressure, and they've stamped their authority early here, the Vixens.
Well, the Vixens are prepared to give the ball to Karen Howarth almost from anywhere within that goal third.
So have they changed, have they altered their game plan? Because I've seen their starting 7 and Bully a surprise starting at goalkeeper.
Oh, look, I don't think so. Karen Howarth has got on the move occasionally, but it does look like they've said, you know, you've got plenty of height over Bully, but I think they would have done the same whether it was Bully or Leighton. You know, you want your star goal shooter to be sitting under the post. You want her to be available there, especially when you know you've got a Tegan Caldwell who can run out in front of her.
She's just giving these Thunderbirds defenders an absolute netball lesson at the minute. Howard, 38 goals at 84% last week. She has picked up from where she left off. Must score.
Oh, Bell, beautiful move along the baseline.
Blistering pass. Thunderbirds peg one back. This match has started at breakneck speed. And that's a turnover coughed up there by the skipper in Chatfield. Just a rush of blood.
Oh, Curran having a really good run at it. Had a look, but that leaves Waddington free. Thunderbirds need to use the overlap.
Curran's just throwing herself around out there, relishing being back in the big time. That height off Borrego means she can use the splits and then steps in. It's an almost 2-metre step in.
Well, and it's not just her height. She's got that beautiful balance, so she can use the splits. She's got really long arms, but she's got the ability to hold her position and then move off to take the ball.
Here she is. She's trying to move off. Instead, they go to Bell, who was playing in front after Borrego was double-teamed. 2 in a row. That's what they needed. In fact, that's the last 3 for the visitors.
Bit of a defensive change up here for the Thunderbirds. They've gone into a zone defence, but it leaves space, and Karen Howarth absolutely exploits that along the baseline.
So who makes that call out on court? Obviously, they were going man-on-man. They decided to switch it up and go the zone.
Yeah, it could be anyone. It could be Nat Bomberto, but it's more likely to be someone like Shani Layton or Rebecca Bully sitting at the back where they've got vision of what's happening down the court.
Back to 2. Beautiful shooting from Erin Bell. So what will they do here on the defensive? Let's have a look.
And when you do something like throw a different style of defence, oh, beautiful cross-court ball then from Maddie Brown.
Sneaking in under the vacant space behind that defensive zone.
Well, it's such a risk to go cross-court, but Maddie Brown weighed that up and didn't put too much height in the pass.
Thought she was going to back herself in there, Karen Howarth, from long range. Creeping out on that baseline. Let's get courtside, Sarah Allen.
Making it so hard for the defenders with the ball just flying down at breakneck speed. I'm interested to hear from you, Liz. When the ball's coming in so quickly, do you stand any chance as a goalkeeper or goal defence?
You don't stand a lot of chance, especially not only is the ball coming down fast, but it's coming to the top of the circle. So especially Maddie Brown, she's finding beautiful space at the top of the circle. That gives us so much room to find Karen Howarth. It's difficult to defend against.
Captain for the Adelaide Thunderbirds, Natalie Bomberto, has called a tactical timeout here just to give them some speed, some space rather, and time to regroup, have a chat to Jane Woodlands-Thompson.
Well, it's a good move from Nat Bomberto. They're trailing by 5 goals, and that 5-goal margin opened up very, very quickly, and that's a problem for the Thunderbirds if the Vixens are able to score fast. But I think they tried to slow the Vixens down by going to that zone style of defence, but essentially that just opened them up, so they'll go back to the man-to-man.
We should point out that Nat Bomberto has had some issues with the pinky finger on that hand. I couldn't think that a finger would cause so much problems.
To stay in that middle channel. That's really wise words, because if Maddie Brown doesn't have the top of the circle, then Tegan Caldwell or Karen Howarth are often coming up that middle challenge, and that really allows the Vixens to centre their play.
So this opening quarter delicately poised now. We've got 6 minutes left on the clock. Vixens out by their biggest lead 5, but we've seen already the Thunderbirds able to peel off 3 or 4 in a row. Need to do it again.
Now they must score here. Good desperate play there from Jo Curran. She's going to do that all game.
Waddington. Call went against Chatfield. And Bell will back herself in.
Beautiful shooting style has Erin Bell, a nice high release. That's corridor that Jane Woodlands-Thompson was talking about. Karen Howarth came up it. Alyssa McLeod is now in it.
Vixen's shooters haven't missed yet. Caldwell, 7 from 7, and Howard, 7 from 7. So they've split it in this opening quarter. Finding some space there, Borrego. Getting a little physical under the post and a rare miss, but Borrego just taps it to Waddington. Great little passage of play.
Well, she had no right to get her hands to that. Followed it beautifully.
Chatfield thought the rebound was hers, and all of a sudden this long arm just reached over the top.
Oh, Tegan Caldwell flirting with the 3-second rule. Only got that short period of time to deliver the ball, or you lose it.
That's 8 straight for Karen Howard. What a blistering start to this quarter for the Melbourne Vixens shooter. So just under 5 minutes left in this opening stanza to make it 4 goals.
Carla Borrego a long way from home then, came out of the circle, but that's the beauty of having her in your team. She's not a shooter who has to stand under the post. She'll get out and she'll make play. Oh, Renee Hallinan.
Yeah. Thrown it away.
Really unlucky for her. When as a goalkeeper you want to go and slap someone.
I was going to say punch, but... and a miss. There's the first one. She's got the offensive rebound, and that hurts so much, Liz, when you're a goalkeeper.
That does hurt. Goalkeeper and goal defence, you've got to stand there and expect for the ball to come out and be ready for it. Caldwell's down in back play, but she's okay.
Can they eat into this margin before the first break? Waddington goes backwards, risky. Leighton, Von Berto, straight down the centre of the corridor. Borrego, working hard, the shooters. Bell gives it off. Just her, oh, another miss. That's her second miss. Well, that's unheard of. And Bell mops up. Sarah Allen.
I think Nat Von Berto's timeout was really beneficial for the Adelaide side. It feels like they've really settled into the game. The tempo's slowed a little bit. As I say, they've settled. Borrego's still missing a couple of goals, so maybe she'll take a little more time. But I think the timeout was good for them. Even their bench is a bit more involved in the game now.
Well, Erin Bell certainly carrying the responsibility in that front line for the visitors as Howarth delivers another. 9 from 9, Liz. Borrego, just 3 goals from 5 attempts. So they've got some improvement and work to do there.
They do, but the good news is for the Thunderbirds is that they've got a goal attacking Erin Bell who's capable of stepping up. You know, a few years ago, I think that might have been an issue for her, but I would back her now to shoot the game out. But you do want Borrego firing.
Well, the upside is if she does flick the switch, look out. Came from 5 goals down last week against the Pulse.
Oh, Mentor again, out all over Nat Von Berto. Oh. Frantic last couple of minutes from both teams. Thunderbirds need the turnover here.
Almost Leighton. Read it, couldn't quite get there. Both goal shooters in the last few minutes just got the jitters. Leighton to Hallinan. Must score on this push forward. Bully. Look at the defence from the Vixens. Thunderbirds really working overtime to find the space. Now it opens up. Bell, long way from home. Back to Hallinan. Waddington thought about the long bomb. Gives it to the skipper. Into Borrego. Off hands. It's a Thunderbirds ball.
I'll take that. Nat Von Berto just looks a little bit different in his setup this season. I mean, I know we're only a game and a half in, but when there's a turnover, she's sitting herself very, very deep back in her goalers, or near her goalers, and almost letting Waddington and the defenders bring the ball down court. So that, to me, is probably part of the reason the Thunderbirds are just struggling at the moment. It takes a while to sometimes slip yourself in and get comfortable in that new sort of game plan or a new structure.
Borrego's rattled 50%, 3 from 6, probably the quietest quarter she would have had in her career playing for the Thunderbirds.
Well, the Thunderbirds' defensive line have just managed to step it up and come up with a few turnovers of their own, but Borrego throws it away.
Hallinan. Still time to score. It's hovered around that 5-goal margin for much of this quarter. And saying that, it feels like there is nothing in this contest.
Oh, Bully, use of feet.
If they can prevent them scoring here, it's a win. But Caldwell has other ideas on the offensive rebound. Look at that vertical leap, unstoppable stuff, and it doesn't score.
No goal.
Well, that is a mini win for the Adelaide Thunderbirds. Quarter time at Hisense Arena, and so far it has lived up to expectations. It's the Vixens leading 17-12.
Welcome back to the ANZ Netball Championship live on SBS2 with the score 5 points the difference. The Melbourne Vixens ahead of the Adelaide Thunderbirds. Selena, the Vixens really came out powering in that and had it all over the Thunderbirds in the first quarter.
They certainly did. As you saw, Borrego has started off quite slow, which is surprising. Lucky for the Thunderbirds that they've got Erin Bell there, who's certainly taking up the slack in the shooting end.
And if we look at the Vixens' style, they just seem to dominate all over the court, and the Thunderbirds looking a little bit out of sorts at the moment because last week they were quite dominant.
They are. Both teams are showing great defensive pressure through the centre court, which is slowing it down to both ends. I think the big difference between the two teams at the moment is that the Thunderbirds are a lot more reluctant to feed it into Borrego, I think because she's having a shaky start.
All right, let's rejoin our commentary team, Liz Ellis and Kelly Underwood, for the second quarter.
Compatriot Fowler in her second ANZ Championship game yesterday, just a lazy 65.
Well, look, I know it's only 15 minutes of the game, but I'm going to disagree with Sarah. I think for the Thunderbirds, they're doing well to be so close, within 5 goals as the second quarter gets underway. Yet they don't have each end firing yet. Carla Borrego, just 3 goals. She will come into the game. And I think that rocket that's just gone into that defensive line from the Thunderbirds coach will spur them into action. They know that they were half a step off. They were really set behind in that first quarter. They will step it up and they will win ball back.
And Leighton with that rocket has produced. Turnover City, they've coughed it straight back though. Thunderbirds down by 2 at quarter time last week, trailed by 5 in the second. Oh, again, that defensive pressure really has stepped up.
Well, that's 2 nearly turnovers for the Thunderbirds, but well done to that Vixens front line and kept their heads in it. Haven't hung their heads when they've lost the ball. That's what you want your front line doing.
Bomberto deep in the pocket, keeps it in play. Bell from long range gives it off, just trying to get Borrego involved here. Chatfield just going to make her think about it. Plant that seed of doubt.
Blood on the ball, so the umpire probably asked for the second match ball. Have a look to see who's spilling some claret.
Might have been Erin Bell. Brown, look at that, and she just hung in the air, Howarth, as if she had an eternity. Beautiful netball.
Well, Karen Howard has improved immeasurably since she came onto the court for the Vixens last year, and I was watching her in the warm-up. Just her footwork has really improved. Oh, not a turnover the Thunderbirds need. Carla Borrego, contact penalty.
Vixens scored the first 3 goals in the opening quarter, and the chance here First three on the board as well. Off the foot of McLeod.
Well, this defensive effort from the Thunderbirds has stepped up since the first quarter. Vixens really laboured down the court.
The bully just wearing Howarth like a glove. Howarth ready to spin, protect that backspace. Well played. I think Bully might have actually got a fingernail on that shot. Here it is. Bit of push and shove into the post.
Well, that's what this Thunderbirds defensive line needs. They were too nice in that first quarter, and that's not something that you see often from Shani Layton or Renee Hallinan trying to con the umpire into it being her throwing.
Just starting to make the Vixens earn every possession here. Brown gives it off to Caldwell.
And that's what they have to do. You're not going to claw back a 7-goal lead and make inroads into it in 3 flashy plays. These Vixens are a good lineup that don't cough up possession, so you've got to wear them down, you've got to force them into errors.
Borrego to Bell, who's taking all the responsibility in this front line, and that is sensational shooting. 10 from 10, Erin Bell. Getting Borrego involved. Once they can do that, then all of a sudden they can get themselves back in this contest.
Well, then the scoring becomes a bit easier and freer for the Thunderbirds. At the moment, they're not finding, as a held ball, they're not finding access to the edge of the circle. That makes it harder to get Borrego involved. So Waddington has to get down, and it's like she's trying to do a little bit too much. Nat Bomberto is just getting caught incredibly deep. So I think the Thunderbirds are missing that linking play. But yes, they do have to bring Carla Borrego into it. But they've got to do the work out the front to do that.
A big tick for Jiva Mentor so far because she's shut Borrego down, or it's been a team defensive effort?
I think it's been a team defensive effort, but when the ball has got to Borrego, yeah, Jiva Mentor getting into her head a bit. She's sitting at 4 from 7. Not a lot of ball for Borrego.
Vixens with the last 2, and it's out to a 9-goal margin. Starting to get dangerous here for the Thunderbirds. They need something to spark them. Old-fashioned push in the back there from Layton on Caldwell. Went unwhistled. Well done by Bully. This is what they need, and they're away through Bomberto. Waddington back to Bomberto, the link-up player in this passage of play.
So the fact that Borrego's had to come out says to me that this Thunderbirds mid-court just isn't firing at the moment.
We don't see that often, do we? The Jamaican coming that far out from the post. And once again, it's Bell that's going to take the responsibility, and a miss. It's her first defensive rebound from Chatfield, and contact against the Jamaican.
Yeah, big defensive play there from Chatfield. Both defensive ends are just working absolutely overtime, putting pressure on every single ball.
Has been a bit of a scoring slog so far. In fact, quite low scoring. Just 14 goals with 9 minutes left before half-time for the visitors.
Well, the Thunderbirds have scored just 2 goals this quarter, so that's a real area of concern for them. I think they'll have to make changes, and the changes that I would make at half-time if I was Jane Woodlands-Thompson, I'd swap Bully and Layton around. I think Shani Layton would just do a little bit better, a bit more height sitting back on Howarth, and I'd bring Emily Beaton into that front line. She's got a great ability to bring Carla Borrego into the game.
It's a bit of a surprise to see that Emily Beaton didn't get a start last week, didn't get any game time in preference of Waddington at wing attack.
And I thought Emily Beaton had a great year last year. I thought she really came into her own and was just a key player for the Thunderbirds.
Carrying the Thunderbirds on her shoulders at the moment is Erin Bell. Still 9 goals. Oh, Brown's gone over on the ankle.
Oh, and add insult to injury. It's a footwork call, so she's been called for stepping. She doesn't look happy.
Just a little quick jerking motion there from Maddie Brown as she tried to land. I think she might have caught an opponent's foot on the way down. So just getting some attention from the doctor. It was Howard.
Friendly fire.
It was friendly fire. Unlucky stuff for Maddie Brown. Getting that right ankle worked on. Don't forget, Twitter fans, you can join the conversation on today's game by using the hashtag VixensTBirds or ANZ Championship. Liz, you're a Twitter fan. In fact, spend more time on Twitter than anything else, I think.
Love it, Kel. Get to talk to all the netball people out there. It's exciting.
Surprising that you speak netball 24/7. Well, you type netball 24/7, don't you?
I do. Get my thumbs working. So I think some changes are going to be made for this Thunderbirds line, and they had to do that. They had to take advantage of this timeout. It's quite fortuitous for them. So Emily Beaton will come on at wing attack for the Adelaide Thunderbirds. Shani Layton heads to the bench, and Kate Shimon comes in at goal defence.
Well, we thought they might just switch Bully and Shani Layton, but I think Sarah Allen's all over it, Sarah. They've opted not to do that.
They have, but there was some stern talks going on between Jane Woodlands-Thompson and Dan Ryan before that break, so I thought there might have been some changes in the goaling end, actually, but looking at their team list, I just don't think they've got the depth there to bring another goaler in. They've got Laura Packard and Stephanie Piopolo on the bench, and I just don't think that they're good options to bring in at a time like this.
Yeah, not much experience there for the shooters for the Thunderbirds, Popolo and Packard. Oh, trying for that was Curran. Bell backs herself in.
Emily Beaton's made a massive difference already. In one play, she's found the edge of the circle and found Bell. Watch out for the Thunderbirds.
So Emily Beaton here on screen with the ball in her hand, just been injected into the contest.
And I think I can see steam coming out her ears. She's got a look on her face that means business.
Getting a taste of the action for the first time this season. So consider she sat on the bench all last week. And that is a beautiful pass. And straight away, an immediate impact. Emily Beaton, it will be. When Borrego banks this one.
Yeah, and that's a delivery that's been missing. I think that Lee Waddington looked a little bit bewildered out there, wasn't sure of a space, whereas Beaton's come on and looked like she knows what her job is, and that is get the ball to Borrego. Thunderbirds desperately need a turnover here.
Cloud, short pass, Brown, bounce pass, misread. Oh, it hit the deck. Tangle of arms and legs in and under, and it fell Howard's way. She can do nothing wrong.
Well done, Karen Howard. She was there. The 50-50 balls in this game have fallen the way of the Vixens, and that often is just a matter of momentum and being hungry for it.
Borrego's getting hungry. Back to back. Her goal tally now up to 6 after being held to 3. Zone defence been applied here again by the Thunderbirds. Unlucky. It was an offside call, Hallinan, and it was the toenail, Liz.
Both Shimon and Bully out. You're going to put your hand up. You've got to be out of that 3 feet range. It's hard to do when the shooter's under the post, but this is a different Thunderbirds team. The intensity's there, the intent is there, and the goals are starting to come.
Bomberto off the boards, into Beaton, to Bell. Looking to get a shooting partner involved, but instead does it by herself. Converts another. Bell 12. Scored twice as many as Borrego on 6. 5 minutes left in this first half.
That's their turnover. Last 5 minutes of this quarter is really going to determine a lot of the outcome of this game. Thunderbirds are suddenly looking like the team that we thought they could be.
They've got an appetite now, haven't they? Borrego spins, backs herself in, Mentor all over the shot, and that's what she needed. And she skips in a little hand clap to celebrate, trying to fire herself up.
Oh, beautiful long bomb, but Borrego, again, the contact. In the setup, she's got a basketball background, and in netball that does get her into trouble sometimes. Just puts the body in the wrong spot.
Well, they were pushing for 3 in a row.
Oh, Hallinan!
Hallinan, well done, and now they're away. Beaton gives it to Bell, back to Beaton. They needed a spark, and a goal like this would be an absolute team lifter. It's back to 5. Look at the intensity on the face of Erin Bell. Well done by Hallinan, that was a great intercept. On Birdo, just second behind. Steadier, Fatigue and Caldwell. To Borrego on another elbow. Well, that's cost them 2 goals in 2 minutes.
It has. You've got to react to the umpire. You've got to just, even if you don't agree with it, you've got to change what you're doing. So Borrego, no doubt, will get told at half-time.
And the death stare, Borrego up the other end. Gee, she got it going at the umpire. That's a high
bully.
ball, bully. On the transition, can they go coast to coast here? Beaton. Moving across court, going backwards, patient on this build-up. They don't want to throw it away. Again, Mentor all over. Oh, Borrego nearly lifted that elbow, and Chatfield just gobbled it up. Running in waves down the court.
Well, Jiva Mentor really is in Carla Borrego's space as Borrego picks up an unexpected intercept.
Intercept, intercept, intercept. Borrego, look at that spin. Great move.
Joe Curran called for the replay. It's a funny little rule.
It's just got a bit messy, a bit sloppy in the last minute here, Liz.
Yeah, so the umpire ruling that Joe Curran had control of the ball and then bounced it. Carla Borrego really should have taken the earlier shot. She just doesn't look like she wants to go the post.
No.
And she's got to.
She wants it over the top here. Great ankle, Mentor. Keeps it in play. It's a loose ball. Bomberto swoops.
Oh, and the replay again. Nat Bomberto chased it beautifully but couldn't maintain possession. Big play then for the Vixens. Had to fight hard for that.
Great angle on that. Jiva Mentor steal. This has stepped up. The intensity is just fierce out there. Away pass to Tegan Caldwell, and they just kept the opposition at arm's distance. Look at this.
Well, Jiva Mentor, he's having a brilliant game. Oh, that was obstruction. There was plenty of room there. But it was called that way.
Juggling fingertip up by Karen Howard. Back-to-back goals, and it's back out to 8. And that really is deflating stuff for the Adelaide Thunderbirds. They've done all the hard work. Still time to score. Can Borrego get involved? No. Mentor says, I have dominated you for a half of netball. She has shut down the Jamaican superstar.
There's time enough if good enough for the Thunderbirds. They've got to go long, but they can't just turn and throw long for the sake of it.
Will time beat them? Oh, Chatfield going backwards. Borrego over the top to Bell. Oh, Mentor again. It's a call against Bell. It'll come back and it'll be a shot.
Massive shot here for Erin Bell.
Oh, and she missed misses, and that just about sums up the opening half for the Adelaide Thunderbirds. Erin Bell was brave and gutsy, and they trail by 8. It is the Vixens 29 to the Thunderbirds 21.
Mistakes there, and they're just struggling to get in close, and credit to the defence of the Vixens. And we're not far away from the second half of our round 2 clash between the Vixens and the Thunderbirds. We didn't even mention this at the start, but Sherelle McMahon, who made her long-awaited comeback to the Vixens last weekend, is now out again through injury. I guess the sad news for her is she's really not being missed.
I think she'll be missed regardless. She's just such a fantastic player. But as you said, Tegan Cadwell is just playing so well, and the two shooters are combining really well. I think it is a shame that she hasn't come back. Last week she did play well. She came on in the second half, and by the end of that third quarter, I think she was really settling into the game and showing us some of the brilliance that she has as a player.
All right, now if we look at this game and some of the statistics, actually, we're going to go straight to the second half. We'll get back to the stats later. Let's go to the third quarter with our commentary team, Liz Ellis and Kelly Underwood.
And they won the third quarter 13-5. Well known in sporting circles.
Oh, the
lift! We've seen the chairlift. Bully on Shimon.
Well, Kate Shimon's built for it. She's got a great explosive vertical jump.
The first time an Australian team has tried the lift.
And she's built like a toothpick, so you can lift her up. That was just spectacular. Poor old Vixens, they cop it every time.
They do, and this crowd will be going, this is familiar, because, of course, it was here last year where we saw the lift the very first time. Anna Harrison, the Harrison hoist.
From the Mystics, but it's the first time I've seen an Australian team do it successfully. And something else familiar, Carla Borrego giving away another penalty. Vixens just look in control at the moment. They're happy to soak up the pace of the Thunderbirds and just work the ball down. Here it is, just watch Rebecca Bully, just gets Kate Shimon up there.
Oh, spectacular, and it's legal. It is completely legal. No goaltending rule in netball, unlike basketball.
It's hard to do. The timing has to be perfect. A turnover there, Karen Howarth giving away the contact call this time.
Chatfield all over Borrego. That'll give her a lift. She needs to get angry. She needs to get hungry.
She just needs the ball.
Well, here it is. Absolutely not even looking to attack the post from that far out. Now finds a little bit of space on the baseline.
Well, the whistle's getting blown more often down this end, so the Thunderbirds have to deliver the ball to Borrego and know that if there's a contest, they'll probably come up with it. You've got to, if the umpire wants to get into the game, draw her in, give her the ball.
Shots like that should be elementary, but she's just looking a little edgy on them.
So a change-up for the Melbourne Vixens. Jo Curran off at wing defence, Shannon Eglin on into wing defence. She started the game for the Vixens last week.
So they've done that switch after half-time. Just one started the first half and the second half this week. And it'll be interesting to see how the shooters cope, particularly Caldwell, because it was at this point last week where McMahon came on and really gave the Vixens a lift, but she's out injured today. Chatfield just a little bit late.
Well, and that's what the Thunderbirds need to do. And Emily Beaton, as soon as she gets the ball, she's looking for Borrego. She wants to deliver the ball to her.
Not on that occasion, converts another. Let's go down Sarah Allen's courtside with the coach of the Adelaide Thunderbirds.
Jane, you brought Emily Beaton on into your attacking line last quarter. She's really changed the dynamic in there. What were you hoping to achieve with that change?
Yeah, we just can't find Carla today for some reason. So Em's got a little bit more reach and she has a good connection with Carla. So we put her on there to try and get more ball deep into the goal circle.
And we saw Kate Shimmin do the chairlift, the first from an Australian side. It's pretty impressive. Will we see a bit more of that?
She's been wanting to pull that out all year. She did a little bit at the Nationals a couple of weeks ago, but she can certainly do it very well. And look for more for the rest of the game.
Thank you, Jane.
Cheers.
Stick with us. We're going to see more chairlifts, Liz.
Oh, how exciting.
Back to 6. Vixens in attack.
Maddie Brown, when she finds the top of the circle, she's so dangerous and she's got the speed of Tegan Caldwell to work with.
Just talk me through how difficult it is, that chairlift, because they did look to do it then, but obviously the timing wasn't right.
You've got to be able to time it because it takes both defenders out of play. So you've got to wait until the ball's in the air, which is a difficult thing to do, and then you can be too late. And you've got to have the personnel to be able to do it. As I said, Kate Shimmin has the perfect build for it.
Vixens are away again. Caldwell just a lovely slice towards the post and finishes it off. Let's get down to the Vixens bench and have a chat to their coach, Simone McInnes.
Simone England comes on into wing defence. What do you hope to see from her this quarter?
Just wanting to lift up the drive to the middle, but we want to see more contest on that first ball.
Now, you must be happy with the pressure that Jiva Mentor is putting on Calabrego today.
Look, they're working pretty hard as a team there, and they're starting to get some pick-ups and ball towards the end of that quarter. But, I mean, we've got to be really disciplined about that now and keep in the contest without putting ourselves out of play.
Best of luck for the rest of the match. Thanks, Simone.
First time in charge in Melbourne in front of the home crowd for Simone McInnes. She'll probably be holding her breath for this whole second half, because they just keep pushing the Thunderbirds and just keep coming.
They do, and when those changes were made in the second quarter, they came out all guns firing and all ablaze, and the intensity was right up there. They've lifted the intensity at the start of the second half, but they seem to be a little more in control. You can hear the behind call coming from the Vixens players. Clearly they think that Carla Borrego drops the ball a little far behind her head compared to a lot of shooters, so they're looking to exploit that, and that's potentially where some of the mind games are coming from.
Already Borrego with 4 goals this quarter. She scored 4 in the second and 3 in the first, so starting to find her range. Just get the feeling Liz, Carla Borrego's still got a big role to play in the outcome of this contest.
Yeah, you do.
For goal number 15. Her shooting partner Howard has 19. And the penalty statistics there on your screen. Martin is 7. Split the defenders. Cop control Borrego. Off balance scores.
Well, she's so strong, and she's the Thunderbirds deliver the ball to her confidently, she's going to take it.
Shimmin came out hunting as a result. It's 2-on-1 under the post. Keeping her elbows down, and that's probably her first long-range shot.
The confidence is building.
It is, isn't it? Oh. Howard didn't even have to move. That pass was pinpoint.
Well, Beck Bully came out to have a go at what she thought was going to be a long, high pass to Tegan Caldwell. Kate Shimmin backed her up. Now I'd be tempted to bring Shani Layton on for the last quarter. She'll just come on firing. And I think Kate Shimmin's just starting to give Tegan Caldwell a little too much space.
She's taken a bit of netball, but Borrego that space you spoke about, Liz. Just too easy.
It is too easy. Shimon seems to want to go back and help Rebecca Bully with Karen Howarth, but she can't afford to do that. Rebecca Bully's big enough and ugly enough to look after Karen Howarth herself, so Shimon has to get out and put some pressure on Caldwell and just make her think twice about the spaces that she's using.
So keep Bully at goalkeeper? Or would you move her out to goal defence?
I bring Shani Layton on at goalkeeper.
It's her best position, isn't it?
I think so.
So they've scored 10 goals now this quarter. So great little in there by Helen, just making the Vixens work for it.
But not quick enough. Beautiful 1-2 there between Howard.
Look at the work off the ball between Howard and Shimon. Trying to block her run when it becomes a centre pass. In the pocket, little pass, Mentor. Gets another win. What about the battle between Von Berto and McLeod? Big test for Alyssa McLeod.
It has, and I think she's gone pretty well. It's been a really physical battle, actually, and I thought McLeod had the wood on Von Berto in the first half, but the introduction of Emily Beaton has also brought Nat Von Berto into the game, so it's a far more even match. And there's that space from Caldwell.
She might have thrown it away here. No, Helen and a push in the back. Howarth with those takes, you talk about her improvement, but it just looks so effortless.
They do, and she's such a tall player, so to be able to get up and get that vertical jump happening, and she looks like she's got that great balance. I just think she's improved immeasurably since last season.
Back out to 8 goals, which was the margin at half-time. Vixens by 5 at quarter-time. And there is Howarth again.
And these 50-50 balls, when the ball's going out of court, the players falling out of court, the Vixens are finding each other. That is just beautiful confidence, but it's also great backup.
Thunderbirds are throwing absolutely everything at the Vixens at the minute. And the Vixens answer every challenge. Mentor away. Big moment here. It could make it 10 for the first time. Chatfield, McLeod brings it back through the centre. Rolls it into Chatfield, who turns, spins, block, pinged. It's double digits for the Melbourne Vixens. Crowd likes it.
The Thunderbirds have to spend the next 3.5 minutes just holding the Vixens off. They've got to step up that defensive intensity, which I think has just started to just let them down a little bit. You know, they came out all guns blazing in that second quarter, but I just don't know that they're doing enough. They want to head into this 10-goal margin. They've got to win ball back.
Big 3 minutes for the Thunderbirds. They'll try and get this under 10. Howarth makes it 11 though, and her tally is 24. Shimon to try and set it up. Forced to retreat. Contact against McLeod. 2-on-2 under the post. Spinning, rolling, trying to find some space. Bell too far out. Look at the voice. Leading the way, the skipper Chatfield.
Brilliant defensive effort from the Vixens, just so good. The Thunderbirds, no way to the post. That's the sort of stuff that will wear a team down. The Thunderbirds got the goal, but that would have taken a little bit of fuel out of the tank.
And let's get down to Sarah Allen as we call a timeout here.
I think this is a tactical timeout from Renee Helen, and she's seeing that the scoreline's blown out to 10 and that the Adelaide Thunderbirds need to settle a little bit. Just wanted to highlight Alyssa McLeod's fantastic defensive pressure. Just then in that section of play, she was on Emily Beaton, made her make 3 or 4 moves. Emily Beaton's coming on as a fresh player. Alyssa McLeod's been in centre all 3 quarters, and to make Emily make 3 or 4 moves before she can get the ball is fantastic defensive pressure from the centre.
Vixens in a tight huddle, just trying to hold on to this lead in the final stages of this third quarter.
Very calm sounding huddle.
The coach isn't out there, they're just happy to do the talk.
Oh, and you can afford to do that when you've got a really great leadership team out there, and you look at the players, they know what to do. They know that this Thunderbirds team isn't done and dusted. There's 17 minutes left in this game, and if you've got Carla Borrego standing under the post, that's plenty of time to make up your deficit. You've got to push through, but you've got to stay calm if you're the Vixens.
Lovely one-handed take there from McLeod. Just slotted into this starting seven nicely. Thunderbirds must score. Becoming desperate.
Shani Layton's come back on, but she's back on at wing defence, which leaves the circle defence untouched. A Bully back at goalkeeper and Shimon at goal defence, and Renee Hallinan off the court.
So Borrego's tally now has climbed up to 16. McLeod just waiting for that contact, eventually called against Von Berto. Jiva Mentor playing her 75th ANZ Championship game. It's the most by any import in this competition, having a day out.
Well, as you mentioned, Kel, she's a former Thunderbird, so she knows her old team intimately, and she knows what Carla Borrego is like, and she has read it beautifully today. She's just peeled her off, and there's another offensive contact. This time it's Karen Howarth.
Time is against them. They need to move it quickly. Can they get it back to 10?
Beautiful move, Bell. Took Chatfield to the post and then popped back out. They needed that goal.
They desperately needed that one. And the Melbourne Vixens have the centre pass here, but time beats Alyssa McLeod. So the Melbourne Vixens open up a handy lead over the Adelaide Thunderbirds. The Thunderbirds certainly won't lay down. It's 44 to 34. They've certainly got a never say die attitude.
And there's not a lot of teams that you'd sort of be prepared to give a 10-goal margin to at three-quarter time, but if you've got a scoring machine in Carla Borrego who's just starting to come into the game and you can start to deliver the ball to you, then you're a chance.
Bit of an unfamiliar position for the Vixens compared to last year as well. They always play close, tight ones here, or they were trailing for much of the match. So now to be tested like they haven't really before, to hold on to a lead. It's been start to finish lead so far.
The key for the Thunderbirds is to not only get the ball to Carla Borrego as much as possible, but get it to her quickly. They need to score as quickly as they can when they've got the ball and get the ball back in the Vixens' hands and hopefully win it from them.
Bell starts it well. Caldwell, so light on her feet. I know she's been likened to a young Sherelle McMahon, but they play very similar styles, don't they?
They do.
But that amazing athleticism. She leads, I'm told, in the pre-season, dominates all the runs and the sprints and all the tests, the vertical leap test and agility.
But you've got to have the brains, and I think when Tegan Caldwell came into the Vixens, she wanted every second ball. She wanted to dominate the shooting, but I think now she's formed this great partnership with Karen Howarth. They bring each other into the match. They're looking to dish off to each other as often as they can. Oh, Nat Von Berto arguing that Alyssa McLeod tipped the ball out of her hands, and she has a point, but McLeod got away with it.
But Von Berto is just going to try and win this ball back, and she does. It was a stepping call against McLeod. 15 all between the two centres.
Alyssa McLeod's had a great game today, but she's brought out the best in Nat Von Berto. She's fired her up a few times.
Here they are again. Another fumble. Mentor takes it.
Just when you think Borrego's going to come back into the game.
Not a 15-all clash. That's a 6-1, 6-1 at this point in time. Mentor and Borrego.
Kel, you spent too much time at tennis in January.
Still 11. Pretty simple equation. 12 minutes left. That's 13 goals now, the difference. Stepping up the defensive pressure, the Adelaide Thunderbirds. In the middle, Howarth, just strength, stood her ground. Vixens with the last three.
And here is this defensive pressure from the Vixens. They're clogging up that middle passage. Better work from Borrego.
Rolls in. They need more, and they need more quickly. Working the angles. Hand in there, Von Berto can't quite, just about steamrolls her Australian teammate there in Maddie Brown.
Well, another 50-50 ball that the Vixens have won.
What a start to the season for Karen Howard. 38 last week, round one, already up to 28 here today. Has been unstoppable.
Oh, Chatfield.
Chatfield.
Bianca Chatfield's just had a great game. Aaron Bell has been asked to step up for the Thunderbirds and he's shooting beautifully, but so much of the pressure that it has allowed Jiva Mentor into the game has been created out in front by Chatfield.
And once again, a 50-50 ball falls the Vixens' way. That 5-2 in this quarter. So they've just slowly been able to grind at the opposition, wear them down.
Well, this is a more mature Melbourne Vixens team than we saw last year. Very similar starting lineups, but they've been able to absorb pretty much everything that the Thunderbirds have thrown at them. Every time the Thunderbirds have gone on a little run, the Vixens have absorbed it and stepped it up themselves.
Threatening to run away with this one in the final 10 minutes here, the Melbourne Vixens. McLeod, risky. Von Berto swats it out of play. And that to just about break the opposition's back. What a statement. First few moments of this final quarter. Smile from Jiva Mentor, an obstruction and out of play, and as a result Bell adds to her tally up to 20. We need more of that. Rebecca Bully, I think it was here, Liz, that might have called the timeout, getting some attention, and Jane Woodlands-Thompson quick out of her chair, straight up to chat to them. So the score for this in the last quarter, they've scored 3 goals, the Thunderbirds, while the Vixens have put on 7. So it's 7-3 in this final quarter.
And the defensive pressure the Vixens are putting on just isn't matched.
I think there might have been a change or two made here as well, Liz.
The defensive pressure from the Vixens hasn't been matched by the Thunderbirds. We saw the changes at quarter time made to have dropped off, so I'm not surprised there's changes now.
Sarah, you've got the changes.
Yes, Rebecca Bully's left the court now. She did have the top of her left leg very heavily strapped, and that seemed to be troubling her a little bit. So Samantha Pullman has come on into goalkeeper, and this is one of the first times we've seen Samantha Pullman on the ANZ Champs Court.
From Newcastle via the AIS, so 188 centimetres, so quite a tall goalkeeper, Liz.
She is tall, young, enthusiastic, probably what the Thunderbirds need out the front there. She'll be able, I think, a much better matchup physically for Karen Howarth. And this is her ANZ Championship debut, so what a baptism of fire for her.
Great pass by McLeod.
Beautiful delivery there from McLeod, and look at Bianca Chatfield.
Alyssa McLeod with 19 assists last week, the most of any player in round one. And her teammate Maddie Brown is meant to be the goal assist queen because she got more goal assists than any other player in the competition last year.
Well, I thought Alyssa McLeod had a brilliant debut season with the Firebirds 2 years ago when they went through the season undefeated, but I thought she was a little quiet last year. She's turned that around. She's come back to Victoria, and Shannon Eaglin puts foot just out of court, and she has fitted into this Victorian style of play very nicely, and she just looks to be running this mid-court.
Caught up with her during the pre-season, had a chat to her, and she said she was most excited about playing with Sherelle McMahon. Just grew up idolising her and never played in a team with her before, so not today. Gonna wait, maybe next week. They're back here next Monday night against the Tactics. Might catch up with Sherelle McMahon in the post-match, Liz, and have a chat to her to see how that Achilles is tracking.
Bianca Chatfield again creating the turnover. And then committing the cardinal sin of stopping on her run to the ball. So well done, Emily Beaton, for keeping her eyes up and her wits about her.
Bit of a team lifter there for Erin Bell. Might give them a little bit of belief, a spring in their step. Last 6 minutes. Just might as well throw everything at it. Nothing to lose. Vixens have answered every challenge today.
Well, last week, Kel, I said that Vixens and Thunderbirds were my 2 top picks for the 2 top Australian teams, and I maintain that Vixens belong there, but I don't know about Thunderbirds. I think today's exposed some really glaring holes for them defensively, and it doesn't get any better. They take on the Southern Steel next week in New Zealand, and they've got a match up against Janelle Fowler, who was outstanding yesterday against the Tactics, shooting 65 goals.
Let's get down to Sarah Allen.
Cal, the partnership between Mentor and Chatfield has just been outstanding today. They just know where each other's going to be, and I'm interested, Liz, to see what you think. Do you think they're much more settled this season now that they're not rotating through that third wing defensive position like they were last year?
They are. You know, Julie Corletto was a massive loss for them, but it's well worth talking out while we're talking about the Vixens' defence. They've got a new player to contend with. Steph Popolo has been brought on at goal shooter, a massive moment for her. Another debutant for the Adelaide Thunderbirds, a young Victorian player who spent some time with the Vixen squad. So huge moment for her, and her dad Gus is here looking on, a proud dad. He's a throwing coach for various Australian Olympic Commonwealth Games athletes, was a 8 times Australian hammer throw champion, so a proud moment for him.
Absolutely. Steph Popolo, she sat on that Vixens bench, so it's a little ironic that here she is debuting against the Vixens, was a replacement player when Sherelle did her Achilles. She was named as the replacement player going back a few years ago. She'll enjoy these 5 minutes out there on court.
And she'll give something to think about. She's had a holding shooter in Carla Borrego, but still nice and tall, but does get on the move. We just saw then some pretty good examples of a nice change of direction that she's got.
been an impressive finish by the Melbourne Vixens. They really just want to shut them down and close it out. They haven't mentally switched off for a few minutes. They did that in the grand final last year and it proved costly.
Well, the fact that Netball Birdo's just gone for a held ball, I think, just shows what a different mindset the Vixens have got this year. 3.5 minutes to go, they lead by 14 goals, yet defensively they're still throwing everything at this Thunderbirds line.
And from what you hear, it's the new coach, Simone McInnes, that has brought that mentality of we cannot lose concentration for even a minute or two because it cost them so much in that grand final.
It did. Simone McInnes is one of Australia's greatest ever wing defenders, so I think teams do reflect the personality of their coaches a little bit, and she was the sort of player who gave it absolutely everything to the end of the game. Wing attacks used to come off complaining of having Simone McInnes' footprints all over their back, and I think the Thunderbirds say that about this Vixens lineup today. So just a little schoolgirl error from Alyssa McLeod, then putting a foot over the line of the throw-in. You've got to have your foot behind that white line.
Pullman brings the Thunderbirds back into play. 3 minutes left here in this contest. We'll catch up with Sherelle McMahon after this game is over and have a chat to her. Margin is 13. Last week, 21 from 26, so today 24 at 88%. Becoming a super consistent player for this Adelaide Thunderbirds outfit. A story, no doubt, though, Liz, will be Carla Borrego. And her 17 after shooting 28 last week.
The positive for the Thunderbirds is that they know now that they're not a one-trick pony. They know that if Carla Borrego fades out of a game, that Erin Bell can come into it. The problem for them is that they need Borrego firing. You know, their team, their game is really built around getting it to the big goal shooter at the back, and they need her on the ball. I think Jane Woodlands-Thompson might look at that mid-court and think, man, maybe I should have started with Emily Beaton. She's got a great ability to find Carla Borrego and bring her into the game.
It's party time for the Melbourne Vixens. Final minutes or so here. They're going to try and finish this one in style. Howarth again. Goal number 34.
There from Steph Popolo. She's doing well. 2 from 2 at 100%. Didn't look like the arms over the ball bothered her then, and the arms over the ball haven't bothered Karen Howarth today. She has turned and gone to the post so confidently all day. 35 from 39 at 89%. What a performance.
Down, final seconds. Oh, well, that's where they needed that. They've needed that all day. A few errors to be made by the Vixens. Is there time to score? So the Melbourne Vixens make it 2 from 2. Their first win at home, and they are proving they're going to be a real contender again this year. They're down the arch rival. The final score, 58 to 44.
In the new Australian series.
welcome back. A huge 14-point win to the Vixens over the Thunderbirds. Selena is with us. Selena, you have to say, if you were the Melbourne Vixens, Simone McInnes, you'd be pretty happy with what you saw in the last hour or so.
Definitely. That was an excellent game by them, especially up against the Thunderbirds, who I think we all thought were going to be one of the top fours this year.
And we can't write them off just yet.
Oh,
it's only round two.
Absolutely not.
But we did expect more from them in this game, for sure.
Well, definitely a much tighter game. I think they were just rattled at the beginning and they just never really recovered from that.
And do you think that comes down to the style that the Vixens play? Can you compare the two styles? Is anything particularly different?
I think they're pretty similar in style. I think the Vixens just pulled it off a lot better today. Their defence through the centre court made it, as I said, Borrego wasn't playing well to begin with, but the defence through the centre court just made it almost impossible for them to get the ball to her today.
Yeah, we'll see some of that action in the highlights. We've got highlights from each quarter. This is the first quarter. As you say, it was just very, very difficult for Borrego, first of all, to get the ball, and once she got it, then to actually do anything with it.
And as opposed to that, you just saw Maddie Brown. She just fed it in almost from the centre third into their shooting end. So they were quite free with the ball. They were certainly a lot more confident than the Thunderbirds.